Hi, I'm Sarah.
I'm Andrea.
Today we're doing a podcast over the book we just read in English class of Mice and Men, and we're doing it on the topic of loneliness. So I can start with one of my questions. I have, which character do you think is the loneliest in the book and why?
I would say probably either Crooks or Candy. Crooks because we see, it's like chapter 4 or 5 when we see the most of him, and he talks a lot about not having anybody to talk to, and he's left out. He's not welcome in the places that the other guys are because of his race, and nobody ever visits him or talks to him and stuff like that. And as for Candy, Candy's just this old guy. He also just lost his dog, who was basically his only friend, so now he's like definitely alone. And he talked about how when he gets too old to the point where he can't work on the ranch anymore, that the guys will basically just kick him, I guess, kind of, and he won't have anywhere to go or anything like that.
I agree with you. I definitely think that Crooks is the loneliest. I think that because he's like the outcast on the farm. Like, he doesn't stay in the bunkhouse with the other guys. He has his own place to stay just because of the racism on the farm and because he's the only black one. And I think that he's definitely the loneliest because of that, because he doesn't really talk to any of the other guys on the farm.
I'll ask a question now. Do you think George did the right thing, killing Lenny himself?
Yeah, I do think that George did the right thing, killing Lenny himself. Like, I was upset, obviously, when it happened and everything, and I do think that, like, George was the reason that everything happened, but I do still see it as a mercy kill, because Lenny would have ended up in much worse circumstances if George hadn't taken it into his own hands. He either would have been killed by Curly, either like by shooting him in the gut, like the book said, or I think he might have even ended up being hung, which either of those would have been a slow death, or he would have ended up in jail if they would have decided to spare him, and they probably would have like chained him up and everything, which also wouldn't have been good for Lenny. So yes, I do think that George did the right thing.
Yeah, I would say I agree. I think, although I did like kind of debate this with myself a little bit at first, I do think he did the right thing. Like thinking about all the other things that could have happened to Lenny instead of that. And although like when George did it, it didn't seem like there was too much emotion in him like afterwards, but you could definitely tell like before he did it and after, like he kind of struggled a little bit to do it, like he was still debating it. So like obviously he didn't just do it out of cold blood. He did it for a good reason.
Okay, so one of my other questions is, how does being lonely affect the way Crooks and Curly's wife act around other people?
With Crooks, I think it affects him mostly when like Lenny comes into his room. He acts very defensive and like he doesn't want Lenny there because he's not used to that. He's not used to having anybody come into his space. He's used to being lonely all the time, so when somebody comes into his area, he doesn't know how to react and he doesn't want them there, basically.
And Curly's wife?
Curly's wife, I think it affects her because obviously nobody on the ranch likes her. They all talk terribly about her. But when she's around the guys, like specifically when it's just one of the guys, like not all of them there, but just one of them when they're alone.
Mostly just Lenny too.
And Lenny, yeah. She tries to get to like know them, and she tries to talk to them because she doesn't have anybody else to talk to, and Curly doesn't normally let her out of like the house. He doesn't want her going anywhere, so she doesn't have anybody to talk to. I guess I'll read to you one of the quotes that I chose, and then we can talk about it.
Okay.
I'll just start with this one. I ought to have shot that dog myself, George. I should not have let no stranger shoot my dog. I said this quote was significant because it shows the regret that Candy has with this dog, and how we can really feel Candy's loneliness and sadness after his dog is gone. So this quote definitely does connect to the theme of loneliness as well.
I agree with you. Like I said earlier, I do think that really connects to the loneliness because, like George and Lenny, they were together for so long, like literally just as long as Candy can remember. Like he's had him since he was young, and that was like his working dog. And Candy expresses multiple times that like the dog was a really good working dog when he was younger, but now he's just getting older and he's like losing that. And that also plays into like how worried Candy is for like what'll happen when he gets as bad as his dog is and like is useless on the farm. Like he knows they're gonna get rid of him and then he won't have anywhere else to go. Okay, so I think my favorite one that I wrote down was my fourth one that I wrote down. I wrote, I get lonely, she said. You can talk to people, but I can't talk to nobody but Curly. That's on page 87, and Curly's wife says that. She admits her loneliness openly, and even though she is surrounded by the men on the farm, she has no real connection with any of them. And it shows that loneliness is not just about being alone, but also being unheard and misunderstood. What do you think about that?
I think that definitely shows Curly's wife's loneliness in the book. How she doesn't have a connection with anybody basically except for Curly. And it also kind of connects to something else that I wrote. Well, I ain't told this to nobody before. Maybe I oughtn't to. I don't like Curly. He ain't a nice fellow. So not only did she not have connection with any other guys on the ranch, she didn't even necessarily like her husband.
Yeah.
Because I don't really think he ever could have real conversations with her and like make her feel like she wasn't still alone.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like obviously they don't talk about it much, but I don't think that she really had a big relationship with Curly either. Clearly it wasn't very good if like she's got like an eye for the other guys on the, well, not really even an eye. Like I think that she was just lonely and wanted somebody to talk to, but like clearly she wanted other things for herself. And like you have to think like she would have been our age probably. And like she was just like married off and she's on this farm with no friends, no one to talk to. And like I know me personally, I would be lonely. I would want somebody to talk to. So like I feel like I can just like sympathize with her a lot. Like I didn't like her at first, but like now I can like see it and how lonely she really is.
Yeah. So I think to end this, I'm just gonna give a little like thing that I wrote down. This is a reflection on like the theme of loneliness. I think the theme, like we definitely see loneliness all throughout the book, specifically when Candy's dog gets shot, and like I feel like we see mostly every character in the book has experienced loneliness. Some more than others, but it's a huge like thing throughout the book and it's super important. So
Okay.
is that it?
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you for watching.
Bye.
Bye.